everyone, it's Xarin from Smitten Kittens and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're talking about pricing your creations to sell them online or in Tagalog, paano ba magpresyo ng items para ibenta sila online. So this has been asked a couple of times in my channel sa comment section kung paano ko ba pinipresyo yung items ko, ano ba yung factors na kino-consider ko, etc. 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 So we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to cover why it's important to know your pricing, to have the right pricing, how to know your material, your labor and production cost, and other hidden costs that go into the pricing of an item. So if you're interested, please keep watching and let's start this video. When I started selling my creations almost a decade ago, yung pricing ko, hinulaan ko lang or dinepende ko kung magkano ko nakikita yung iba magbenta ng stuff nila. Like, I just go online, I check out what other sellers do, kung magkano sila nagbibenta ng items, and I just copy their prices. Well, maybe it's because we're artists, so we're not interested in math, because math is math. For a while, ganun lang yung pinagbasihan ko. And eventually, after a few years, I decided I'm gonna do product costing. I need to figure out how much my shop is actually earning, how much I'm actually earning. And I was surprised because there were a lot of items na I was confident in how I priced them. But then when I actually did the math, ang liit lang pala nung kinikita nila sa akin, or ang liit lang ng tubo sa kanila. Even if I sold a lot of them, maliit lang yung profit ko because the pricing was off. So that's when I realized the pricing is really important, and if you're a seller or an artist that's just beginning and you're just guessing your prices, you're setting yourself up for failure. So don't be like me. That's why I made this video. Math is really important. Product pricing is really important. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Okay, first off, I'm gonna be sharing a basic formula on how to get the product cost or your price, and that is your materials cost plus your labor's cost equals the production cost. And your production cost times 2 is your wholesale price, and your wholesale price times 2 is your retail price. Now, this is a formula it's like universally followed, but at the end of the day, ikaw yung magdedetermine ng price mo. It's up to you whether you follow this formula or not. In my opinion, what's really important is you just get your production cost. And then from then on, you can decide how much you want to price your item. So with that, we're gonna go on to materials cost. Materials cost is pretty obvious if you're an artisan. It's every consumable material that you use to make a product, and it's how much the total of all these are. So let's say, for example, the strawberry necklace. It's handmade in polymer clay. It's on an 18K plated gold chain. And yeah, I made it myself. So, in making this pendant, of course, I used polymer clay, which is obvious. And then there are other materials that you have to factor, which is, for example, the eye pin that I used to attach the pendant to a bail, to a gold bail, and then there's the necklace itself. If you're selling it with a necklace, the necklace is part of the materials cost. There are other less obvious materials that go into an item. For example, for this, I also used glue, like an adhesive, and then I also used a varnish to make it shiny. Really think of all those materials that go into making a single item. Now, in knowing your accurate materials cost, you have to know the cost of each material, of course. For example, for polymer clay, for the specific brand I used here, it's 120 pesos for 1 block. And then in making this, I need to know how many grams of that block I used and how much the cost of that block is per gram. And that's how you find out the materials cost just for the clay. And then you have to total it with the cost of the other items. Now, for items that are tougher to price per use, say varnish, say glue, kasi ang hirap naman, like, how many items can I make with 1 bottle of varnish? That really varies. Like, It's hard to pinpoint that. For those things, I just make a ballpark guesstimate, or the liquid clay, varnish, glue I used. I'm gonna put a ballpark number of not more than 5 pesos. So it really helps if you keep an inventory or like a spreadsheet, a notebook of the materials that you use frequently. I do this like after I go shopping for my supplies. I take the receipt, I write out how much each item cost, I list them all in a notebook. That way I can keep tabs on how much my materials cost. Okay, so now that we know our materials cost, we're gonna go into labor cost. Labor cost is essentially how much you pay yourself to make the item. A common mistake I see from artists or crafters who are just new to selling is that they base their price solely on the materials cost, but they don't consider the labor cost at all. They would say like, binenta ko to ng 80 pesos, but yung materials ko naman is 20 pesos lang, so it's fine. But then, how much time did it take you to make that item? How much effort went into it? You know, time is like a really valuable asset, even if mura lang yung materials, but if you put a lot of time into making an item, you can't take back that time. That's priceless. That's a priceless commodity that we often take for granted. The labor's cost, we consider our labor, our effort, our time, and we pay ourselves. How much you pay yourself for labor is ultimately up to you. I consider the minimum wage or the wage that you want to make per hour. It's good to really have a clear idea of how much money you want to make per hour. And then another thing to consider is your skill level. You have to be honest with yourself, like, baguhan ba ako? Am I an expert? Have I been doing this for how many years? What's the quality of my work? And then that will also guide your pricing for your labor. One more thing I like to do is when I'm crafting a specific item, I like to time myself for how long I make it. When you're new to making something or when you're just new to selling, it's a good idea to put on a timer and time yourself for how long you spend on making a certain thing. For stuff that are more labor intensive, we have to charge a lot more than for those because like I said, you can't take back time. Time is a resource, but skill takes precedence over time any day. Because a skilled artist might be able to finish a sketch in 10 minutes and then a non-skilled artist, it will take 30 minutes to an hour. So, of course, you also have to consider skill apart from the time. So, if we add our material cost to our labor cost, that's our production cost. But of course, apart from the materials and labor cost, there are other costs to consider when pricing. Some na medyo hindi na napag-iisipan because they're what are called the hidden costs. They can include the platform fees, commission fees, or our sales tax if we're paying taxes to the government. Let's start with commission or platform fee. This is basically the fees that you pay if you're using a third-party platform to sell your items. Halimbawa, sa Shopee, they charge 3% of your sales. And sa Etsy, they charge around 10% last I checked. And a lot of sellers shoulder that fee, like, especially if it's low, like sa Shopee, 3%. It's not that high, so a lot of sellers just shoulder that fee. But a lot of sellers also price their items a bit higher to accommodate that transaction fee or that platform fee. I have to update my Etsy video because since I posted that video, Etsy did a lot of changes for their Philippine sellers. They did Etsy payments, they have more requirements. So I'm going to be doing some research and updating that video again, so please stay tuned for it. Another hidden cost is the sales tax. So if you're paying taxes to the government, your VAT, etc., a lot of companies already build that into their pricing. That's why it's VAT inclusive. So when you're buying something VAT inclusive, yeah, they already figured it out. They already worked the VAT into the price. Now, another hidden cost is the shipping and packaging fees. So basically, everything that goes into shipping or packaging your item, these are your boxes, your bubble mailers, calling cards, bubble wrap, everything that's gonna go into shipping this product. So, what a lot of sellers do is yung price ng packaging items, they already add it to the price of the actual product itself. If the platform you're selling on, halimbawa, you're just selling independently, like through Facebook or your own website or Instagram or on Etsy where they let you determine the shipping fee on your own, pwede yung packaging cost i-add mo dun sa shipping fee. But on other platforms like Shopee na sila yung nagde-determine ng shipping cost because they have integrated couriers, many sellers add it to the product price itself. If you don't take it into consideration, it can eat away at your profit. So, it's important to be at least aware kung magkano yung ginagastos mo sa packaging and shipping. If you notice, like if you're buying online and there's shops that really put nice packaging, they put freebies, they put cards, and more personalized stuff in their items, when you order from them, you'll notice that their items are more expensive. And then a seller selling the same thing for much cheaper will usually have like plainer packaging, they won't have freebies, they won't have cards or etc. It's part of the buying experience, so it's up to you to determine how fancy or how simple you want your packaging to be. So, and also it depends on your market and who you're selling to. Do you think they want nice packaging? Do you think you want plain packaging? It's up to you. Personally, I prefer just straightforward packaging as long as my item is protected. But it's up to you because you're the seller and you're the one who creates the experience for your buyer. So now that we've already figured out your material cost, your labor cost, all the other hidden costs that you may want to consider, you're gonna arrive at your production cost, and then you can use that as a guideline on how you want to price your items. You can use the formula that I mentioned earlier. You can multiply that by 2 to get your wholesale price, and then multiply that by 2 to get your retail price. Or you can just do your own formula or determine your own price because you're the seller. And it also depends on your market on how much you think you should price these items for. So I wish you the best of luck in trying to figure that out. Now, as a bonus topic or bonus segment, I'm going to be talking about pricing my items for the local market and for the international market. So I sell my items both locally through my Facebook and Shopee, and then I also sell internationally, although I'm on hiatus now. And you'll notice that my foreign items are a lot more expensive than my local items. And the reason is because when I'm selling locally, the labor charge that I base it on is the local wages compared to when I export items, I use the foreign minimum wage as my guide to how I price my items. And the reason for that is really my personal decision, my personal preference. Because I want to make my items accessible pa rin even to students or people who are having their first job or people who are just saving up. I want to make these items accessible even for them. A little trivia about me is that I used to work as a service crew in a cafe sa Trinoma. So, in the food service, it's well known that our wage is very, very low and you're often just contractual. So, I didn't get to save up a lot. So, when I'm pricing my items for the local market, I try to consider those kinds of people. Also, when I started selling online, of course, I started with locals. I started with people in my friend circle, immediate circle. And so that's my way of saying thank you to them, and that's my way of not alienating the people who I started this venture with. That's it for this video. I hope this video was able to help you figure out how to price your items, whether it's for a local market or international market. I hope I mentioned some stuff na magiging helpful sa inyo sa journey nyo if you want to start online selling or selling your crafts. And if you're already selling, I hope I was able to impart some new insights in this video. If there's anything you'd like to review that I said, I also wrote about this topic in a blog post. The link is also in the description box. And if there's something else you'd like me to talk about in the future, whether it's about crafting, cosplaying, sewing, or other shop talk, business stuff, please comment down below. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and feel free to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you and happy crafting!